Masters of the Universe by DC Comics. This is issue 3. This is the third and last part of the miniseries that came out between 1982 and 1983. This is February 1983. This is when all the toys were coming out, and the cartoon is just showing this is the birth of the giant franchise that is Masters of the Universe. And there are some differences here as they still shape and form what Masters is. This is within these walls, Armageddon, and you see He-Man and Skeletor battling it out. This cover was done by George Tuska and Klaus Janson. And you see here Masters of the Universe. This is Zodak. The art in these issues are incredible, man. Really, really great stuff. Usually the inks were done by Alfredo Alcala, who also did the art for the boxes and everything for Masters of the Universe. Zodak is basically Metron from Jack Kirby's Fourth World. He has a little chariot that he flies around in, and he intervenes only when it's necessary. There's a lot of DC Comics influence in Masters of the Universe because they're the ones that shape Masters. Marvel is known for shaping a lot of the toys of the 1980s, like the lore of them, Transformers, G.I. Joe, stuff like that. But DC had a hand in Masters of the Universe. And here, He-Man is battling a bunch of demons that keep appearing and attacking He-Man and his crew. You see Stratos in the background there. And the story is that He-Man and his crew have been going on this whole mission to get 3 medallions to then summon the Sword of Power, which is made up of He-Man's sword and Skeletor's sword in the toys. And they don't want to go on this mission, but they have to because Skeletor has the sorceress in captivity. So here they go. They're fighting a bunch of monsters to keep attacking them. They don't know from who, because it can't be from Skeletor. This was written by Paul Kupperberg and penciled by George Tuska. In this issue, the inks are done by Rodin Rodriguez. And so Zodak joins the fray and fights all these monsters. And so now they have all 3 medallions. They can do their work of summoning the sword. And meanwhile, there's another villain called Daemon. And so Daemon is a guy who fights against Skeletor. Not really a guy who was carried forward in the cartoon and toy line. So he's a forgotten villain here. But he's getting in the way of Skeletor getting this sword. And so really the conflict in this issue is going to be between Skeletor and this guy. But He-Man gets to fight Skeletor later on. So here Zodak is teaming up with the characters. Zodak looks awesome. He's a cool-looking character. And I always liked him. He was in the cartoon. I can't remember if he was in the same sort of neutral position he is here and, like, you know, in future editions past the cartoon. But I think he was supposed to be a heroic warrior on his package art. And so they're trying to rescue the goddess. Now, the goddess is basically designed the same way that the Teela figure was. And they call her the goddess. Really, it's the sorceress. There's a whole sort of ambiguity of all of those characters. Teela, Sorcerer's Goddess, Green Goddess, all that stuff. Here a monster attacks Skeletor. Skeletor looks awesome. Well drawn and inked here. Looks menacing, looks really cool. And he's fighting this big octopus guy summoned by Daemon. And so Daemon comes in his big, like, pantless outfit here. That's a He-Man trope. Skeletor and Daemon attack each other. And meanwhile, Many-Faces, who was not in the other issues, he appears. He's part of the first wave. He appears and stands outside of Castle Grayskull. He's summoned somehow, and forces then nab him and bring him into the castle. The castle looks awesome here. So, meanwhile, Skeletor and Daemon continue to fight each other. with all sorts of like powers and weapons and things. Meanwhile, He-Man and his friends appear outside the castle and try to get in through various ways. Stratos gets ensnared by a giant web. Teela is in a giant maze, and Man-at-Arms admires all the weapons that are attached to the wall, and he gets zapped as well. And He-Man and Battle Cat try to get in. Teela gets caught in a trapdoor, which leads her right to Skeletor. And she has a very this weapon that she has, the gun, is a lot like the weapons that came with the figures and stuff. So Skeletor gets the two halves of the sword, and Teela shoots him right in the face, and then he puts the swords together and gets the Sword of Power. And meanwhile, He-Man smashes through a wall with his axe to fight Skeletor. And Skeletor now has all-encompassing power. He then holds Beastman and Many-Faces in his thrall. Many-Faces can turn into a beast, so he does that, and then He-Man has to fight Many-Faces. Many-Faces is shown as a guy who isn't supposed to be evil, but can be. So He-Man fights like these guys. He-Man then goes through the trapdoor that's part of the playset for Castle Grayskull, and Teela saves him. And in the pit are a bunch of like snakes and things. So He-Man lunges back out and fights Skeletor. And meanwhile, the sorceress helps. Now, I think they are saying that Zor is a different character, whereas in the cartoon she turns into Zor. Also, Zor is depicted here as being a lot different color scheme, looks more realistic, but also has some sort of battle helmet thing, which I think that the toy did not to this extent. And so He-Man and Skeletor still continue to fight. Skeletor has the Power Sword. He could do anything he wants with it. It's sort of like the Infinity Gauntlet, right? And Zor then nabs the sword, and He-Man punches Skeletor, and that's it. You know, they have the swords. They have the Sword of Power. They don't really do a lot with the sword. He-Man doesn't need the sword to become He-Man in this iteration. And everyone's saved now that, you know, Skeletor doesn't have an omnipotent power. And that's the end of this miniseries. A lot of the He-Man comics at the time were basically the mini comics that came with the figures. So, you know, kids didn't really miss that there was not a lot of He-Man content in comics. There would be a Marvel comic way later on in like the 86 around there, 85, when the Hordak figures were coming out. So that's it for this. I hope you like going through this with me. If you like this video, please like this video. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Lots of great comic book stuff on here. So until next time, take care.